Part two of Alex Hormozie sharing some gold over on Chris Williams' podcast. And this is going to be my little segments of it and pulling out the best parts for building an online business. So without further ado, let's dive into part two. You don't need to get lucky, you need to get started. Now, this sounds very cliche, but generally speaking, the harder you work at generally anything, the luckier you tend to be. In fact, there was a quote that something went just like that. The harder I tend to work, the luckier that I got. And that's because when you are working hard towards the right designated goal, you're then taking actions to move you forwards. You're then getting seen, you're exposed to the people who you want to bring into your world, and your message gets to land. If you were to send 100 DMs or 100 emails, for instance, to people, what the likelihood then of getting a few responses? More than if you were to send none, right? And that's the whole point. The harder you work, the genuinely luckier you tend to get. So you won't land your first client from one DM or one post. That's just normal. Sometimes you do. An outlier. People, you may already come into, say, coaching business, copywriting business with some level of background. People already know, kind of have a gist of what you do and are and how you help. So if you were to put up a post and stuff, there may be people interested. But if you're literally from ground zero, then the likelihood is probably not. You're going to have to do a bit of groundwork in order to move things forwards. And that's not a problem at all. That's just a way in the game. The secret, do it so many times that success becomes inevitable. So just like I said, the more reps you do, the harder you work towards the right designated goal, the luckier you will tend to be, because those actions accumulate over time. The worst thing that will happen is you generally get a no, not interested. The best thing that can happen is you get a reply, and that reply then comes towards a client, and the client pays you. And then you get to see for yourself that this online thing isn't a scam, and it actually is something that could eventually pay your bills, which is a really cool thing to have. So send 100 messages, make 50 LinkedIn videos, post every single day. This isn't an exaggeration, right? At the very beginning of any kind of journey, generally speaking, you want to be outreaching quite a bit. 100, it's not not feasible. It's not unlikely, sorry, to not do 100 outreaches. I did at the very beginning. My inbox troved of that kind of stuff, but I got clients at the back of it. Now, if I were to send just 10 emails, for instance, as a copywriter, could I got a response? Sure. But by sending out 100, my likelihood of getting more responses goes up, and therefore the luckier I tend to get. It's the same with making Loom videos as well. This applies more if you're a copywriter or a consultant. Loom videos are going to be a good idea just to show that you know what you're talking about. You can pick apart someone's funnel. You can offer some value that way. But if you're more in like coaching, then DMs are a good start in that respect. And luck is just what people call your results when they didn't see the work. So actions speak louder than work. The harder you work towards something, the luckier you tend to be. And that's a pretty good thing to do. Don't compete, stand out. You are essentially in the market of one, okay? And the interesting thing is, if you look at your social feed compared to someone else's social feed, you're not going to see the same algorithm. All right, especially when you start getting into the game, right? You start following people who have an interest in the business that you want to build and whatnot. You'll just see loads of people building this business. And then you'll assume that there's so saturated, everyone is doing it, when really it's literally just the algorithm showing you the same people with the same interest doing the thing that you want to do. And that can be a problem because you then just start comparing yourself to everyone else. But if you were to go on your friend's mobile, you probably wouldn't see any of that. They will see whatever the algorithm serves them, so that's the difference. So don't compete, stand out. You don't need to be the best at marketing, because you really don't. All right, you don't need to be the only person solving a specific problem for a specific group, because there's going to be, likely at every niche, there's going to be people who are already solving that problem. All right, so that's not an issue. The issue is then standing out, and you stand out by dialing in your message, being more specific when you are writing content, being more vulnerable, being more authentic, especially nowadays in AI. That is a huge thing. Lots of AI written content, even though, I use AI specifically for like slides like this because it's very helpful. When you're writing content in emails, not so good, especially if you are working with a client in the copywriting side of things, and it's quite clearly written by AI, then that can be a turnoff. It's just a word of caution. But an example here, instead of I do social media, try I help personal trainers get clients through Instagram. It could be, instead of I build websites, it can be I help you create an eye-catching website that increases your SEO and make sure that the right traffic lands on your site, so you don't waste ad spend or whatever it might be, right? Something like that. It's just a way you can add that in your, essentially, in your bio to stand out massively, or when you go and pitch something, all right, you add something that's a little bit different, a little bit unique, and has some flavor to it. And when you're the only option, people come to you, not compete on price. Competing on price sucks. You become a commodity, and it happens. It happens too many times. You end up lowballing your price as well just to get ahead, which again, you will start resenting the work that you have, because you know that you could have charged more, but you know you needed to undercut for whatever reason, and that's not a good standing. So don't become a commodity, just become a market of one, and simply just be yourself, as cliche as that sounds. Get your offer out there, talk about your life, share objections. Just make sure that your market understand that, hey, this person really understands me, my problems, and has an offer, and happy days, you're good to go. So lesson number 3, the bigger the problem you solve, the more you get paid. All right, it's that simple. All right, if you can solve a big enough problem and there's a market for it, you can charge higher fee for it, because there's a big bottleneck. All right, that's why, generally speaking, like copywriting or consulting, etc., the higher you can charge higher fees, because you're solving a problem of generating leads and turning them into clients. All right, that's going to do wonders for a business massively, especially if you can increase their, like their total revenue and stuff by 5%. It's big. It's a huge thing. So solve bigger problems, you get paid, right? So right now you might not have the skills that command high fees, and that's okay. It really is. You got YouTube nowadays, you got books, you can look at mentors and things like that. You can learn from scratch any skill that you want. Generally speaking, on YouTube, it's already out there, and you just have to spend a couple of hours going through it, maybe more, but you will get better, and you'll be a lot further ahead than when you just began, right? So remember that. Get the reps in, and you'll get better at any skill. I can virtually guarantee, like, if you were to commit to, say, learning how to do copywriting, for instance, or closing for whatever you want to do, right? And you spent an hour a day over the course of a month, that's 38 hours. It's full-time kind of work. And you do that over a year, it compounds, right? And you get better, and you're way better than when you started and did the first hour. So it makes sense. Start by solving small problems, free or cheap, to learn and gain experience. So once you understand the skill that you want to sell, you can find beta testers, and these could be your friends, it could be your family, and you can offer them a 3 beta test, just to, hey, look, I've got this program, can I take you through it? Can then, in exchange for a testimonial. If it's for like copywriting a consultant, you can just offer a free loom, a free audit. It doesn't particularly matter. All right. And if you do get some lowball clients, maybe some clients on, like, Upwork, for instance, that's completely okay, especially if you're starting from scratch, because you can get some reps and you get some experience, and you get to see how it kind of works as well. And also you get paid as well for doing what you enjoy doing. So it's not a bad thing. And then level up, I'll get 5 new customers this month. And that's just a way to be specific. Once you validate what you do and you get results behind you, you can then have a tangible result attached to your promise as well, which is a good thing. And the market pays for outcomes, and they also pay for better versions of themselves. And if you nail that, happy days. Lesson 4, you don't need confidence to start. You need to start to get confidence. It sounds super cliche. It really does. But when you do things, you accumulate evidence. And once you accumulate evidence of you doing that thing, you've now got proof that you can do the thing. And that's a good thing to have, especially if it's like you're starting to you want to get into the gym and get in shape, right? But every time you say, I'm going to go to the gym, you don't. It's a knock on your confidence. And then over time, that confidence becomes a limiting belief. And then that limiting belief becomes almost a barrier that's impossible to break just to get through the door. But if you showed up daily, you'll start to build evidence that you are the type of person that can do this thing. And it's the same when it comes to building an online business. You get the reps in. You get the reps in by posting more. You get the reps in by doing an offer, creating an offer. You get the reps in by writing by hand sales pages and emails. You get the reps in just doing cold calls, even though you might get rejected every single time. The same when it comes to cold emails. You just get the reps in. And it's just confidence that you can do the thing, because trust me, the first testimonial is worth more than 100 motivational videos will ever do. So remember that. Don't be afraid to start small. Don't be afraid to be rejected. Just go for it. Accumulate evidence that you can do it, and happy days. You won't have to sometimes you will have to fight your own mind. That happens. Lesson 5, every skill you learn now pays you forever. So you think about this, right? It's high value skills generally going to stay in demand. All right. Even when the industry tends to change, especially with like AI shifting and stuff, there's lots of things that you can use AI for. People thought copywriting would be dead. It's not. In fact, copywriting is probably going to be more on the uplift because people are starting to realize that it's not generating as much sales, or as it's doing something to the brand, because very easily people can catch on that it's not the brand talking anymore, it's an AI, and they've lost their kind of soul, which doesn't do very well, and it can tarnish a brand. It's not a good thing, right? So it's same with coaching. If you learn how to help people and help people solve a problem, and you can coach them because you're people friendly and everything else, that's a high valuable skill. People are going to want that, especially I think as we go more into AI, people are going to want to speak more and more to a person. So coaching, and there's loads of ways in which you can coach. So many types of coaching you can do: fitness coaching, finance coaching, wellness coaching, business coaching. This can go on, right? So your first $500 client teaches you more than any course will ever will, because you'll actually have real world experience. And where you find that client can be a combination of outreach, could be going on job sites, could be Upwork, could be Fiverr, could be a referral, could be asking a friend, whatever it might be. Getting that first payment, mine was only $30 at the very beginning. It's just proof that you can also see that this is actually a viable thing, and it can actually be something that then pays your bills, which is bloody awesome, and it's very exciting. So invest your time in learning a high value skill, because it's not going to be a waste of time. It really isn't. It's a better use of your time than spending 3 hours on Netflix. All right, just spend an hour focusing on learning a high paying skill. Keep it simple: one offer, one audience, one channel. So I review and help a lot of coaches at the minute, and the biggest mistake they generally have is they go off in circles, too many tangents, too many things going off at once, and it gets very confusing. It's like staring at a menu, right? When you get presented with 100 different options, for instance, that's a bit exaggerated, but you get presented with like 100 options. It's very hard then to choose one. Even if you want to try something different, there's too many. It's like overwhelming. It's the same when it comes to the business side of things as well. If you have too many, if you don't know your market, and then you decide there's free markets, free types of avatars you want to reach out to, you don't really know your offer, but you've created maybe 4 or 5 loose offers. You don't really know where to post: TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it might be, and you find yourself you're doing it everywhere. You're going to lose energy in those pots, because you're not going to have all the energy to pour into them, essentially. All right, you're going to spread yourself too thin. It's not good. Beginners get overwhelmed trying to do everything at once. All right, I used to try and do everything and just wondered why nothing would land, because I was half-assing it as much as I thought I wasn't. It was just I was spreading myself too thin. And funny enough, your mind does get very tired when you put in a lot of reps. It really does. So spreading yourself too thin at the very beginning, not good. You can branch out as you progress, but not at the very beginning. Master that before anything else. Simplicity is an limitation. It's your fastest path to your first paying client. It is. Keep the offer simple. So focus on what your problem you're solving and the solution. Think of your market and that. And pick maybe maximum of 2 mediums. So social media could be Facebook and YouTube, could be Facebook and Instagram, whatever it might be. Pick the one that's right for you and where your market hanging out. Done is better than perfect. Just start. You're not going to be the next Stephen King unless you want to be. You just need to begin. Take action. And the only way to get luck is by taking action, right? So you don't need a perfect website. You don't. Just get something out there. All right. Obviously put some effort into it, but just get something out there. At least shows you how you help people, right? You don't need a perfect logo. All right. You really don't. People buy into brands now by the person behind the brand. Business plan to get started. You don't need a perfect one. Just get started and just fail forwards and just learn as you go. It's probably the best things you can do. And every day you spend planning is a day you could be learning from real feedback, right? Because it's just procrastination. It feels good. Our brain doesn't know how to distinguish between us actually doing something and us not doing it. So it kind of tricks us. It's not good. We don't want that. Action creates clarity. Action also breeds confidence. Action always generates lux as well. But overthinking basically causes procrastination, and you just get nowhere. All right, so let's just wrap this up. Your first move. So pick one lesson from today and do something about it in the next 24 hours. Okay, whatever it might be. That could just be focusing on your offer. Could be thinking about who you might help. Could be thinking about an idea that you want to bring to light on the paper in a service-based business. That's it. Just something. You don't need to have it all together. You just need to start. All right. So that could just be maybe putting a post out. It could just be, like I said, writing down the avatar now once you have an idea of who that might be, and writing out your offer and what that might be. Use AI if it's helpful. Every expert once was a beginner. And that's so cliche, but it's very true. We all start somewhere, so don't worry and don't compare yourself to people who are, 4 or 5 years into the game. It's not fair on you. And go and take your first step. And if you like that video, guys, comment below. More than happy to answer any questions you'd like. But yeah, take care. I'll see you in the next one.